Scaling means for any device, scaling means the reduction in the device size or geometry. When we are going to scale, when we are going to reduce the dimension of a MOSFET, okay, this strategy is called the scaling. So why scaling is required? Okay, now see, 50 years, 30 years, 40 years ago, people were working with a long channel MOSFET, where the channel length was around 10 micron, 100 micron in that range. It's a very long channel device. Okay. But now, when you are going to fabricate any device, so if you are using a long channel device, so that means you are going to occupy, you are going to consume a lot of silicon area. Okay. So your first objective is to reduce the device size so that inside the same silicon chip, okay, same silicon substrate, that is called wafer, inside the same silicon wafer, you can accommodate, you can fabricate, okay, more number of logic. Suppose you are working with a digital VLSI, logic gate and other logic circuits. So if your transistor size is very small, if you can reduce the dimension of the transistors, so within the same silicon area, you can accommodate, you can pack, okay, you can design, okay, more number of transistors. So what we are going to discuss actually here. So we are going to reduce the device size, okay, but how it affects the device performance? When you are going to reduce the device size by factor, okay, so how it affects the device performance? That means what will be the value of drain current if I reduce the size of a transistor? What will be the value of drain current? What will be the value of power dissipation, power density, gate capacitance, etc. Okay, so let us go for some brief analysis. Okay, and although see whatever the current equation we are using, that is valid for a long channel device, not for short channel device, but we can go for some rough estimation. So at least we can say the power dissipation will increase or power dissipation will decrease, etc., etc. But whether it will increase exactly that much amount, we cannot say, because when we are going to reduce the device size, it is no longer whatever the current equation we derived using gradual channel approximation, that is no longer valid. Okay, so lots of errors will come there, and that current equation is no longer valid. But at least we can predict whether the drain current will increase or drain current will reduce, etc., etc., and what will be the value of gate capacitance, power consumption, power density, etc. We can predict that. So let us see. So we have two types of scaling strategy. Okay. MOSFET scaling means reduction in the device dimension. Okay, so we can write it is the reduction in device size. Okay, let scaling factor equal to S. So here we introduce one constant that is called scaling factor, and its value is S. And of course, S is greater than 1. That means we are going to reduce the device dimension and some other parameters, of course, by factor of S. And S is greater than 1. S is greater than 1. It's not less than 1, it is greater than 1. Okay. That means if S equal to 2, so we can say the device dimension reduced by factor of 2. That means the device size will be half. Okay. So this is. Now there are two types of scaling strategies. Number one, constant field scaling, or another one name it is called the full scaling. And second one is constant voltage scaling, or simply voltage scaling. Okay. So there are two types of scaling strategies. One is constant field scaling, another one is constant voltage scaling. So let us see in details what is constant field scaling, what is constant voltage scaling, etc. So the first one is constant field scaling. Okay. But another one name, it is called the full scaling. So in constant field scaling, our target is to maintain a constant electric field. Our target is to maintain a constant electric field. So that means the electric field inside the device will be same before scaling and after scaling. So before applying the scaling strategy, that means in original device, and after scaling, that means the scaled device. So we have two devices. Suppose you have the original device, and after scaling, after reducing the size, so that is called the scaled device. Okay. So in constant field scaling, our objective is to maintain, is to preserve the magnitude of electric field. That means the electric field value before scaling and after scaling should be same. Okay. So how it is possible? Just check, just take a look. Okay. We have a device. Okay. I'm going to reduce, so this is X, this is Y. I'm going to reduce the X size and also Y size. Okay. So you know the electric field. So just a basic thing that is called the voltage by distance. So magnitude means it's basically mod of dV by dx, we know. So E equal to minus dV by dx. So we are taking the magnitude only, it's dV by dx. Okay. So that is basically what is the change in voltage, dV, and the change in distance, that is x. So can you tell me from this equation how we can maintain a constant field so that the electric field before scaling and after scaling it will be same? Again, I am telling the scaling means the first objective is to reduce the device size, device dimension. That means the X dimension will be scaled, Y dimension will be also scaled. So how we can maintain a constant electric field before scaling and after scaling? The thing is that we are going to change the parameter dx because the dx is the size basically. It's similar thing we can say for dy also, dv by dy. So the dimension will be automatically scaled because that is the primary objective of scaling. We have to reduce the device size. And at the same time, if we can reduce the voltage by the same amount, so because if numerator scaled by factor of s and denominator also scaled by factor of s, then the value of e will be constant. Okay, so I'm going to reduce this v value by factor of s. So dv will be dv by s and dx will be dx by s. So as a result, the value of electric field will be same before and after scaling. So the summary is the voltage will be scaled by factor of s as well as the distance parameter, whatever the geometrical parameter, that means the length, width, etc., thickness, or whatever the parameters are there, those parameters will be also scaled by factor of s. Okay, so that's why it is called the full scaling, complete scaling. We are applying the scaling strategy everywhere. Okay, that means all dimension, all voltage parameters will be scaled by factor of s. Okay, so let us see. So we can prepare one table like this. You can also do that here in your copy. So let the parameter okay. Then we can write before scaling. Then we can write after scaling. So we can prepare one table. Parameter before scaling, after scaling. Okay. So the parameter I am taking mobility. That is, mobility. Okay. Now see, mobility is a material parameter. That means silicon, if we are working with silicon, so it is the mobility of silicon. So the mobility value before and after scaling, it is same because mobility value will not change. Again, I'm saying this is not 100% true. Later we will see if we apply scaling strategy, mobility will also change. But at this time, we assume, so since it is a material parameter, okay, such as band gap is a material parameter, dielectric constant, it is a material parameter. Similarly, mobility is a material parameter, so we assume that it is constant. So before and after scaling, the value will be same. But later we shall check the mobility is no longer constant, and after scaling also it will be affected. Okay. Now similarly, permittivity. Okay, I mean the epsilon. So the epsilon, it is a material parameter, so there will be no scaling for this material parameter. You cannot change epsilon value for silicon. So whatever the dimension you are taking 1 nanometer or 10 nanometer or 1 micrometer device, the permittivity of silicon remains same. So it will be also epsilon, or maybe that is the same for oxide. Okay. Then gate oxide thickness. Gate oxide thickness. So that is generally referred as TOX. So can we scale that? So it is a dimension. So we can scale it, we can reduce it. So it will be TOX dash, that is equal to TOX by S. Sorry. TOX by S. So it will be scaled by factor of S. Okay. Now width. Width of the device, that is W. Now it became W dash, that is W by S. Then length, it is L. Now after scaling it will be L dash, that is L by S. Okay. Gate voltage, means gate to source voltage with respect to source. So it is VGS. After scaling, so it is VGS dash. So we are working with the full scaling, so we have to reduce, we have to scale the voltage also to preserve the electric field. So it will be VGS by S. Similarly, drain voltage, of course, with respect to source, VDS. So it will be VDS dash, that is VDS by S. Then threshold voltage. So it is also a voltage parameter. So it is VT. So this is VT dash, that is VT by S. Okay. So it's better if we mention it for, this is only for constant field scaling. Okay, this is for constant field scaling. We are preparing this table. Okay. And there are some other parameter, doping concentration, since you are going to reduce the device size. So of course the doping concentration will change because it is per cubic centimeter or per cubic meter. When you are going to scale the X size, Y size, and Z dimension, all three dimensions are scaled, of course the doping concentration will also change. And but those are secondary parameter and we are not considering, that is not required, okay, in our calculation. So we are focusing on those parameters. So mobility, permittivity, okay, so gate oxide thickness, width, length, gate voltage, drain voltage, threshold voltage, etc. etc. Okay. So any question from your side? This. So let us see. Okay, so we tabulated all the parameters and let us see how it affects the device performance. Device performance means current, etc. etc. So drain current. So now we are going to investigate what is the effect of scaling on drain current. Okay, so before scaling, we know that ideally it was something like this, half of mu COX W by L into 2 into VGS minus VT into VDS minus of VDS square. Like this. Okay. So this is the drain current ID lean and ID sat equal to half of mu COX W by L into VGS minus VT square, neglecting CLM. So in the absence of channel length modulation, so we can write ID sat equal to this. See, we just want to calculate the value of current. So here for this analysis, we neglect the channel length modulation just to simplify our analysis. Okay. Now, if I ask you, what will be the value of current after scaling? Okay, after scaling. So can you tell me what is the value of I dash lane? So now it will be like this, half of mu, let COX will be modified by COX dash, W dash by L dash, into 2 into, now VGS became VGS dash in scale device. So like this. After scaling, the mu remains same. The COX will be modified by COX dash because COX, just take a look, COX equal to epsilon by TOX. So TOX changes, so that's why COX will change. Then W dash by L dash with 2 into VGS dash minus VT dash into VDS dash minus VDS dash square. So can you tell me what will be the value of this one? How it is related to this? How this is related to ID lane? What is the relation between ID lane and I dash lane? So one thing is clear, whether it is in linear region or saturation region, after scaling, in constant field scaling, after scaling, the value will be scaled by factor of S. That means the drain current reduces. The value of drain current reduces. Okay. Then after getting current, we can go for power dissipation. So that is basically P, that is, okay, actually voltage into current. Okay. So before scaling, so we can write P equal to VDS into ID. And after scaling, P dash, that is VDS dash into ID dash. So now check, VDS dash means it is VDS by S. ID dash means whether it is in linear or saturation, whatever, it will be divided by S. So it is VDS into ID by S square. So it is just like P by S square. So I think you are also getting the same. It is P by S square. Okay. So see one interesting thing, the power dissipation reduces by factor of S square. It's great. Okay. Power dissipation reduces by factor of S square. So that's very good for a low power device. So for battery operated device, low power device, the scaling technique is very good. Okay. So because of power consumption, there is a great reduction in the power consumption. Okay. So if your S is 2, okay, so then the power consumption will reduce by that factor of 4. Okay. So this is a power dissipation. Next parameter, we can say that is also another one important parameter, that is called power density. That is equal to power per area. How much power is generated or how much power is dissipated? Okay, per unit area, that is very important because see, power dissipation and heat generation, they are proportional. If the power dissipation value is very high, of course, the amount of heat effect, the heat generated, okay, that will be also higher. High power dissipation means more amount of heat generation. That is directly proportional. Okay. Now, if the the dissipated power value per unit area is very high, that is called power density. Okay, this power density is very high. There is an amount of heat generated per unit area that will be also higher. So it will affect the chip performance. Okay. Because if the heat generation is excessive, then you know semiconductor devices are temperature sensitive. Okay. So if the generated heat value is very high, then of course the leakage will be higher. Because you know the leakage current directly proportional to temperature. When the temperature will increase, the leakage current will increase. And there will be some other problems, other issues. Okay. And if excessive heat generation takes place, the chip may be damaged. Okay. So that's why in integrated circuit, there will be some cooling mechanism, at least for those circuits where the excessive power dissipation takes place, such as the microprocessor of any computer. Okay, see in every laptop or whatever desktop, okay, so there is a heat sink associated with some cooling fan. Okay, and if you are working with high performance computers, that is called GPU. Okay, so there you can see, so it is generally placed inside one air conditioned unit so that we can maintain the temperature. Okay, so power density should be minimized. What I'm saying, okay, the power density should be less. If the power density value, power per unit area is very high, it is not desirable at all. It will affect the heat generation and reliability issues of the device, and also it may reduce the lifetime of the chip. Okay. So before scaling, this technique will be this one, before scaling. So this is power density, that is PD. So let this is P by A, power by area. After scaling, power density PD dash, okay, equal to, now see, power, that is P dash by A dash. Now check, what is the change in power? P dash means power dissipation. It is P by S square, just check it. It is P by S square. And what is the reduction, means value of area, modification in area. Area means here basically the MOS transistor, we are talking about this one. Okay, where W is the width and L is the length. So area that is equal to W into L is area of a rectangle. Okay, so it is area means, okay, so here I am writing P by W into L. So it will be, W is basically W by S, L means basically L by S after scaling. Okay, so it is P by S square divided by WL by S square. So ultimately, this S square and S square will be cancelled, and it will be P by WL, that is P by A. Okay, so there is no change in the power density. Before scaling and after scaling, if you see, before scaling it was P by WL, and after scaling also we are getting the same value, P by WL. That's a good indication. Okay, because before scaling and after scaling there is no change in the power density. This is because we are working with the constant field scaling. Mainly the electric field is responsible for that. Since we are maintaining a constant electric field, so the power density also remains same. Next parameter, we can go for gate capacitance. That is CG, that is basically oxide capacitance per unit area, COX, into area. You know, COX into area means W into L. Okay, so before scaling, so CG is just COX WL. After scaling, CG became CG dash. Now COX, you know it is epsilon OX by TOX. Now TOX is scaled by factor of X. So TOX by S, just I'm writing here, COX equal to epsilon OX by TOX. Now it is became TOX by S. So S into epsilon OX by TOX. So this is S into COX after scaling. So COX became S into COX. W, that became W by S. L by S. So it is 1 by S into CG. Okay. The value of gate capacitance reduces. Okay, so there are some advantage and also there are some drawback for this. The value of gate capacitance reduces by factor of S. Okay, so let's conclude this one. Actually, which parameter is looks good and which one is not good at all. See here. First, coming to the current value. So current reduces. you know the delay for any circuit, okay, proportional to, okay, 1 by ID. Okay, that means if the value of drain current is higher, the delay will be less. So why? Because you know the current flowing through any capacitor, you know the delay is coming basically due to the charging and discharging of parasitic capacitance. Okay, so current flowing through the capacitor I, that is basically C dV by dt. We are familiar with this equation, or dt equal to C into dV by I. Now check, the dt means delta t, that is basically delay, that is inversely proportional with I. That means when your current value reduces in constant field scaling, just see it became ID by S. So we can say delay that delay increases. So it is not good at all. Although here the current value decreases, but at the same time the delay increases because that delay inversely proportional with the current. Okay, if less amount of current is available to charge and discharge the capacitor, then of course the delay will be high. So that means it is not suitable. So of course it is not suitable for high speed operation. That means if you go for high speed operation, so if you want that your logic circuit will operate at a very high speed, then it's a drawback because the delay will be higher due to the reduction in the drain current. This point, power dissipation, I already mentioned. Here it's a good point. It's an advantage, we can say the power dissipation increases and power density remains same. Power dissipation reduces by factor of S square. That's a good point. So it is suitable for, this is advantage, we can write, this is one advantage. So this makes it is suitable for low power battery operated device. Battery operated device. That means you can go for the scaling for low power battery operated device because power dissipation is very small and as well as the power density remains same. So one thing we can conclude that, see, if you want a low power operation, okay, see here, if you want a low power operation, you cannot go for high speed operation. Automatically, the delay will increase. If you go for low power operation, if you want to save power, at the same time, you cannot get the low delay, that means high speed. The delay will increase. That means speed and power in VLSI circuit, you know, there is a three performance matrix. One is speed, another one is power, another one is area. Okay, so if you go for high speed, of course, you have to sacrifice current. The current power dissipation will be more, or the current will be more. Okay, if you go for low power, then that means the low power consumption means automatically the power, this current value is less. So delay will increase, but speed will be less. Okay, the speed and power, they are inversely proportional in any VLSI design. Okay, and that is also proved here. You can check. And this power density is also very, very important, especially for nanoscale device. You have to keep it constant, or at least you have to take care about this. That means it should not be more, too much. Okay, because if the power density became higher, the excessive amount of heat generation will be there and it will create some issues, device reliability issues, and you know that the device lifetime will reduce. Okay. Now talking about gate capacitance, there is advantage and as well as drawback. That advantage is, since the capacitance value reduces, so we can say that delay reduces. Okay, it apparently looks that the delay reduces because delay proportional to, you can check, delay proportional to C. Okay, delay reduces. But at the same time, it looks that delay reduces, but actually it is not true. Okay, at the same time, if you see the current equation, okay, so I equal to ID equal to something half of mu COX, okay, etc. Okay, this one. See, the reduction in gate capacitance is basically this parameter, COX. COX into area actually, COX into W into L here. Okay. So if the gate capacitance value reduces, that means the current will also reduce. Okay. By default, the current will also reduce. Okay. So because after COX, W is there. Okay. So the current value reduces. Remember that for any MOS transistor, we can also prove that the drain current directly proportional to CG, gate capacitance. If the value of CG is higher, the gate capacitance value will be higher. Okay. That means the current will be higher. So if by scaling with this constant field scaling, the CG value will reduce as well as the current will reduce. As a result, the delay will increase. And we already proved that delay will increase. So apparently looks that the delay reduces, but it is not true. Okay, because the current reduces, the delay will increase. Okay. So there are some issues, there are some advantages, there are some drawbacks of constant field scaling. So depending upon your requirement, okay, you have to select this. If you go for the low power device, there you have to sacrifice speed. Okay, if you want to save power, you have to sacrifice speed. There is no other choice. Okay, so this is. But the major drawback of constant field scaling is see, you have a processor, microprocessor. Here you are applying a constant field scaling technique. The processor is designed by using the constant field scaling technique. Okay. So let, for example, here VDD, okay, is original VDD is equal to 5 volt. That means the value of VDS, VGS, whatever, is 5 volt. And you are working with AS, that is let 2. That means you are going to reduce the device dimension by factor of 2. That means now we can say for this device, the logic 1 that stands for how much? 2.5. Because actually it is 5 volt, but since you are applying a scaling of factor of 2, so the logic 1 voltage level will be VDD by 2, that is 2.5. Okay. Now you are connecting the output of this microprocessor to any other peripheral device, let printer. You are going to print something. This printer is unscaled. We are not applying any scaling. Unscaled. That means here, for this printer, we can say the logic 1 is equal to 5 volt. Means we are not applying any scaling for printer, logic 1 is 5 volt. So I am sending some data from microprocessor to printer, okay, for printout purpose, for taking printout. So here logic 1 is 2.5 volt, here logic 1 means 5 volt. So what will be the problem? So first of all, the printer cannot recognize when the 2.5 volt is coming, whether it is logic 1 or logic 0, which type of bit is coming, the printer unable to recognize. It is in between 0 and VDD. Okay. So yes, it cannot recognize the bit. So it is not possible. So it will not work actually.
Sir,
yes.
for printer, it will be a noise?
Yeah, maybe it is, means it cannot decide. Maybe a noise, maybe you can say the forbidden, okay, bit, okay. It may be some error like that. Okay, so anyways, it will not work. So because the 2.5 volt is in between 0 and 5 volt, so it's very difficult to recognize it as a logic 1. Okay, of course. So then, what is the solution? How we can do that? But I want to take the printout.
Sir, voltage scaling.
Voltage scaling.
Voltage divide means dividing the voltage, keeping the voltage up level, the high level up to 2.5 only.
Now see, suppose you purchase your microprocessor from the market that is designed by using the constant field scaling where VDD level is 2.5 volt. Even some microcontrollers also available, you know. Some controller, if you go for that Node MCU, if you are working in Arduino,
yes, sir, those are 3.3.
It is 3.3 volt, and some microcontroller works on 5 volt. Okay, yes. So but If you want to send, and some sensors, as you know, lots of IoT sensors are there, okay, the
Yes.
temperature sensor, etc., etc. So some sensors are working on 5 volt and some sensors are working on 3.3 volt. Okay, suppose your microprocessor board is supporting, microcontroller board supporting 3.3 volt, but you want to connect a 5 volt sensor. Let here printer is that sensor. You want to connect a 5 volt sensor. What to do? You already purchased that.
Sir, can we amplify here? Actually, in other cases like Arduino and ESP8266, and there we just reduce the size, the high level using voltage divider circuit. But here,
Voltage
can we
divider
amplify?
circuit. Yeah, the logic is here same. So that is, yeah. So basically, there by using some resistive network, we can reduce the voltage from 5 volt to 3.3 volt. We can scale that, but actually that is called voltage level converter.
Yes.
Okay. So there is also some ready-made ICs are available. So that is called voltage level converter. So what we can do, we can convert, we can upscale. So from 2.5 volt to 5 volt. Okay, we can upscale that, or just opposite. Okay, whatever. If you that depending upon the direction of signal, suppose you are sending data here, so you have no other option. You have to change this 2.5 volt to 5 volt. That means we need to use voltage level converter or level shifter, basically voltage level converter. Okay. And similarly, if you just suppose the printer is communicating with the microprocessor, yes. Suppose the page is finished. Okay. Suppose you are taking print out, there is no page in the printer. So printer will send some signal to processor that there is no page. So you stop printing. Okay. So then in that case, the 5 volt needs to be converted to 2.5 volt and vice versa. So we need some voltage level converter. That's okay. But think about a complex system. Okay. Where so many input outputs are there, it's very difficult to use a voltage level converter in that case. So here we are working with a simple project Arduino and all other sensors are there, so we can use that. But think about a very complex system, a digital system, a processor, okay, a CPU is there, or different peripherals are there, okay. So lots of input output lines are there. So it's very difficult to use this voltage level converter in that case, okay. So first of all, it will increase the delay. You are using some intermediate device, so it will increase the delay, okay. It will degrade the performance of the device. It will increase the cost because you have to purchase voltage level converter. It will increase the cost. So lots of problems are there. So that's why scaling the voltage levels is not a good option. It is not a good choice. Scaling the voltage level is not a good choice. That means first we have to stick to a particular voltage level so that you will support most of the peripheral devices. Okay. Now see here, the printer that supports in almost all, you know, that device. Okay, that is 5 volt USB. It supports, you know, whatever the microprocessor is, whatever the CPU is, you can connect that in any model laptop, any desktop. It will support. That is due to the compatibility because that supply voltage 5 volt remains same. Okay, so that USB, the standard USB that supplies 5 volt, that is same, constant. So the scaling of supply voltage is not a good choice, but we are doing this to maintain, to make the electric field constant, so because that is the primary objective of full scaling or constant field scaling. So that's why we are going to the next one that is called constant voltage scaling. We are not going to scale that voltage term. Terminal voltage remains same, but all other parameters will be scaled. There will be no scaling for terminal voltage, but all other parameters will be scaled. Okay, so that is basically constant voltage scaling. Okay, so okay, so here no scaling for voltage terms, only parameters, that means that length, width, etc., will be scaled. Okay, other parameters will be scaled. So no scaling for voltage term. That means if I prepare the same previous table, so you just do it in your copy, okay, or later you can do that. So for constant voltage scaling, so what will be the change? I just highlight that part. Okay, so later, of course, you need to draw this table again. Okay, the modification will be here. Last three parameter you can see. Okay, the voltage terms. So there will be no scaling for those terms. That means VGS before scaling it was VGS. Now after scaling it will be VGS. Before scaling it was VDS. After scaling it will be also VDS. And before scaling it is VT. After scaling it will be VT. We cannot change VGS VDS because suppose at the gate you are applying a logic 1, that is your VGS. That is 5 volt. We cannot change it. If you change it, that means again that type of voltage level mismatch problem will come, and we need a voltage level converter. We do not want that. Okay. So if you do that, so can you derive the same 4 parameters? Okay, that means what is the change in the drain current, what is the change in power dissipation, power density, and gate capacitance. So we can continue, we can proceed. Okay, with the same equation, and finally we are getting the drain current after scaling. Okay, it's a drain current after scaling, so that increases by S times, both linear and saturation region. Power density increases, power dissipation increases, power density that increases S cube times, and gate capacitance. Okay, that's somewhat same as constant field scaling. So coming to the conclusion, see here we are getting more current. That's good. Okay, because more current means when we are going to reduce the device size, we are getting more amount of current. That's good. And because the delay will be less, that's suitable for high-speed operation. So we can go for high-speed operation. You know, nowadays the microprocessors operating with a clock frequency of 2 gigahertz, okay, or maybe more. Okay. Similarly, when the current value increases, of course, it is expected that the power dissipation will increase. Okay. So of course the power dissipation will increase because as I told you that the delay and power, okay, they are just two opposite axes. Okay. Okay, they are inversely proportional to each other. So when you are getting less delay, means high speed operation, you have to sacrifice power. There is no other option. But the problem is the power density here. The power density increases the cube, basis cube times. So if you are unable to manage this one, it will create a big problem for your chip. There may be thermal breakdown, there may be some second order effect, reliability issues, it will reduce the lifetime of the chip. So if you can manage it within some limit, that's okay. Otherwise, it will create a problem. So you have to select the supply voltage carefully, scaling factor carefully, so that you can manage this. Okay. So otherwise, whatever the things we are getting, that's good. And we note that because that we have to go for high-speed operation. So nowadays, that processing power of a laptop or whatever the CPU, okay, it's okay, 1,000 times faster than others. Okay. So you know that you can check that 8085 microprocessor, it ran only for 4 megahertz. Okay, so now we are working with 2 gigahertz, 3 gigahertz. Okay, so mega and giga, you know, there is a change, huge change. Okay, 1,000 times. That is. So you have to go for constant device reliability issues. That is basically, you can say, hot carrier effect. That happens in PN junction diode also impact ionization. That is avalanche effect. Breakdown, that is related to shame. Okay. Oxide defects. Okay. So you know when our electric field is very high, that means here we are working with the constant voltage scaling, the electric field is no longer constant because electric field means volt per division. You are going to reduce the dimension, so electric field will increase. Okay, electric field no longer constant for constant voltage scaling. So due to the high electric field, of course, the power density also gives some indication that SS cube times increases. So some non-ideal reliability issues may be there. So that is called the avalanche breakdown. You know that happens in PN junction diode. Okay, breakdown takes place, hot carrier. Whatever the gate oxide is there, the gate oxide slowly degrades the quality of gate oxide due to the trap charge. The amount of trap charge will increase. Okay, and electromigration. This is also one issue related to structure. Okay, that whatever the metal lines you are connecting, okay, it's found that that's the thickness of metal lines or whatever, okay, they slowly become narrower. Okay, because the whatever the particles are there, they slowly, move. Okay, so that is called the electromigration. Okay, so those are reliability issues, and as a result, the lifetime of the chip. Suppose you are expecting a chip will run for 10 years, might not run for 10 years until and unless you are not considering those facts. Okay, you have to take care about all those things. Okay, so it will degrade the lifetime of the chip. Okay. And another one thing, whenever you are going to reduce the device size, okay, so whether it is as full scaling or voltage scaling, so now the device becomes shorter, the channel length is become smaller, the device dimension reduces. So those devices are termed as short channel device. Okay, short channel devices. Okay, and now we found that some typical phenomena takes place. Okay, those are not present or their role is not prominent. Their effect is not prominent in long channel device, but slowly, gradually, their effect became prominent for short channel devices. Okay, so they are called short geometry effect or short channel effect. Those effects are called the second order non-ideal effect. They are called second order non-ideal effects or short channel effects or short geometry effect. Okay. So in our curriculum, so we shall discuss those effects one by one. Okay, maybe after completion of some other topic, so we shall discuss that. So those are basically related to advanced MOSFET topics. So those effects are basically velocity, saturation, mobility, degradation, tunneling, CLM, we already discussed, drain, induced, barrier lowering, that is called DIBL, it's one important effect. Subthreshold leakage, hot carrier effect, and so on. Okay. Some other effects are there. So those effects are not prominent in long channel device. Okay. So in long channel device, the ID-VD relations means the drain current characteristics mainly dominated by what? The gate voltage, drain voltage, threshold voltage, etc. And you have seen that. Okay, if you see the drain current is a function of what? The drain current is a function of the new mobility, COS, WL, BG, PT, and etc. Now, gradually, when you are going to reduce the device size, so some other effects become prominent. Okay, so As mobility is no longer constant, mobility will change. Okay, now due to this tunneling effect, a leakage current will flow. And we know that when that gate voltage is less than threshold voltage, the current will be zero, but it is not true. There will be some current that is called subthreshold current. When you are changing the channel length or drain voltage, there will be change in threshold voltage that is called DIBL effect and hot carrier effect and so on. Okay, so we shall discuss those things one by one.